Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome to another Manchester United match review. You'll notice I now leave a period between the match finishing and today's review. That's because I like to leave a time for reflection, to hear the manager's thoughts, and basically to see what happens almost 24 hours after a game before then going to react to it. The reaction for yesterday was, well, pretty piss poor. Another poor performance from Manchester United. We'll quickly go over the stats. We'll go over the match ratings that FootMob has given these piss poor players, and then we'll have a quick talk about the game. So overall possession was an equal split. It was 52 to 48 in Manchester United's favour. 10 shots to Brighton's 6, but only one shot on target out of those 10. We had a 83% pass accuracy to Brighton's 81. Committed one more foul, had two more corners. But really was piss poor. We scored one goal from a penalty, to which in another game that may not have been awarded. It was a clear pull down on Xerxes, but we didn't really deserve a goal. And the three goals from Brighton, all thoroughly deserved. First goal, sliced open like a cake. Second goal, how Mitoma got round the outside of Mazraoui, and I just don't know. And Anana just pissing about, not doing a lot. And then Aruta put the icing on the cake with Anana just being an absolute clown, a wally. And if I see Anana starting against Rangers midweek again Thursday, Amorim can take his jacket and leave. Because if he is a manager that has come out and he said Rashford isn't good enough, and he said Garnacho isn't good enough, and he exiled them from the team, making a mistake like that deserves at least a game, if not two, out of the starting 11 for Andre Onana. But in terms of the lineup, it was a pretty piss poor match rating really for all the players. Onana got a 4.2. You'd argue that's about right. The back line, Yoro and Maguire both on a 5.9. Maguire wasn't good. Yoro wasn't fantastic. De Ligt, the better of the three at the back, but really the three at the back were all piss poor. The two wing backs, Mazraoui had a very, very average game. I've said this before. I don't think Mazraoui's a wing back. Dalot is 6.8 over on the other side. I mean, Dalot is okay, don't get me wrong. Dalot is an okay player, but again, I just don't think he's a wing back, and he's playing out of position. You know, I'd love to see him get a run of games, maybe over on the right wing back, and Mazraoui cover left wing back. You know, just an option. The midfield two of Agate and Mainu. I mean, you know, they were so good against Liverpool and Arsenal. And then the last two games, both of them have been piss poor. Both coming off pretty early in the game. Ahmad, a fairly quiet game for him, but not really much to do, to be honest. We were really out of the game for large periods of it, but our only positive passage of play comes from that right-hand side. And that's because Bruno Fernandes, for me, just isn't quick enough to play in a left attacking midfield role. Especially when you don't have a left wing back who's going to do that overlap to create that natural width on the left-hand side. He gets a 7.7 from a FootMob. You take away the goal, he's probably averaging about the same as Dalot, maybe just over a 6. And Xerxes, you know what, I don't think Xerxes played too badly. I think he had a few passages of play where he looked good, but you know, he's doing things that really I wouldn't expect a striker to do. Substitutes who came on, Collier got a 6.5, was a bit more solid in the midfield. Garnacho came on, very ineffective for me, not a wide attacking midfielder. And Anthony and Rasmus came on, and they weren't really on long enough to make an impact on the game. You won't be seeing Anthony in a Manchester United shirt for the rest of the season because he's now gone on loan to Betis. And that kind of brings me on to what I thought of the game. The game was piss poor. The same old story. The same old story for Manchester United. is when we are the favourite team, when we're at home, coming against a team that's not the Big Six or Newcastle, they will play a low block, we can't break them down, and we will lose. Generally, that's what's been happening for fucking years. We are not a team that can play on the front foot. We have not played on the front foot probably since Jose Mourinho left Manchester United, which was in 2000 and what? 19? Was it 2019? No, it wasn't 2019. It was 2018, late 2018. And then Ollie took over. So you could argue that's 6 years ago since we had an attacking-minded team that was going to play comfortably on the front foot to be able to beat the low press. And how you beat these low blocks is creative spark, is stretching them out, stretch the play, and open up the gaps. Because Brighton are a decent side, and just throwing everyone in the middle of the park, which is really what we do. Mazraoui and Dalot aren't particularly great at keeping width for me. They don't look naturally comfortable doing it. We don't create the width. We all get stuck in the middle. We press really high, and then we get counter-attacked, and we haven't got anyone back who's quick enough to do that. You got Maguire lugging about. Yoro isn't the quickest. De Ligt isn't the quickest. And we get caught out and we get punished. Exactly like happened in the first goal. But I guess it comes to the fact of, it's not, the writing is on the wall. The results have gotten worse since Amorim's come in under Ten Hag. That's because under Ten Hag, we played boring, without any identity, scored counter-attack goals and won games. If we'd have played this game against Ten Hag, with Ten Hag, we probably would have lost. Because we'd be doing nothing with the game and we'd lose maybe 1-0. I think the difference between what we have now compared to a low block under like Solskjaer is that with Solskjaer you were playing Lindelof, Maguire, Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka with David De Gea, who could make a very good stop, and 4 defenders in front of him who could defend. At the moment, Onana has got 3 defenders in front of him. 1 Lenny Yoro, who is still learning his craft. 1 Harry Maguire, who is completely off his game, leaving him Matthijs de Ligt and 2 wingbacks who cannot play wingback. I'm sorry, they can't do it. Maybe Dalot could do it over on the right-hand side, but Dalot always looks more dangerous when he's inside. We don't want the wingbacks inside. You want your wingbacks to keep the width, stretch the play, so you've got the gaps for Ahmad, Xerxes and Fernandes to feed into. The idea is not to have Fernandes and Ahmad wide and the way I would see it is not having Ahmad and Fernandes wide and having Dalot and Mazraoui behind them just sort of tucking in, and Xerxes, he's piss poor, he's not going to score any goals. He doesn't want to go forward and attack the ball. Nobody in that final third wants to attack the ball apart from Ahmad. And that is the big problem. Now, I was listening to Mr. Shearer and Mr. Lineker, and they were disputing whether Amorim should change the way he plays football. To which I'd reply this. If we go into a game and I see Amorim lining up with a 4 at the back with 2 holding midfielders, a traditional 10, 2 wide playmakers and a striker, I want him to pack his bags and leave. Because we did not bring him in to do that. Ineos have clearly got a direction. They clearly knew who they were bringing in. And I would question whether now is the right time to bring in Amorim. Because you have got a manager here who wants to play high intensity, high pressing, on the front foot football. And he has inherited a squad that for years have been playing lazy, slow, counter-attacking, 1-through ball, winning games 2-1 or 1-0, luck of the draw football. He has not inherited a team that is going to work their balls off. He hasn't inherited a team who are going to have two wing-backs holding a wide position. He's not inherited a team where players are used to making a run inside, making something of space. He has inherited a team that when it gets to the final third, they all just kind of stand there looking at each other, doing nothing. Because the team don't know what to do when they have 8 or 9 players in front of them in the final third. With one player who's ready to counter, they don't know how to break it down. But the problem is, and here's the big problem, is that the way Amorim wants to play is so different to what these players are used to. Forget that you've got players playing out of position. Forget that you've got 2 wing-backs who aren't wing-backs. And you've got Bruno Fernandes, who is used to floating in that number 10, doing whatever he wants. And now he can't really do that. So he's always criminally out of position, just floating around, doing all sorts. And 1 minute he's at 10, next minute he's at 8, next minute he's at 6, next minute he's in the back 4, running around, collecting the ball, doing God knows what. Take away all of that. Fundamentally, the way that these players want to play football is not aligned to how Amorim wants to play football. Now you would sit there and think, well, that's alright. Manchester United can go out and buy loads of players. Wrong. The financial aspect of the club is in tatters. The money that we have piled into Ten Hag over 3 seasons and money we've piled into Solskjaer over 3 transfer windows is criminal, especially when you look at the money that was spent on Erik Ten Hag. You've got almost £200 million worth of players just sitting on the bench that can't even get into the starting 11. You got Højlund, Antony and Casemiro. Casemiro cost almost £70 million. Antony over £80 million. With Rasmus Højlund over £50 million, that's £200 million sat on the bench. Investments that this club has made that's not even on the fucking pitch. It's not even on the pitch. You look at the starting 11, you're looking at that midfield too, and you're just thinking, you know, are Ineos right? Are Ineos right to think that the likes of Kobbie Mainoo, if a big offer comes in, we need to get rid of him? Because I've touched on this before. This manager needs huge levels of investment. And he has to stay the course. If he wants to know whether or not he's getting backed by this management regime, this Glazer-funded Ineos regime, which is essentially what it is, he's let Antony go on loan. Now, reportedly, he's only let a player go out on loan if he's been told a player's going to be coming in to replace him. Now, I haven't got a clue who they're going to come in to replace Antony, because he's going to be back in the summer. You can't forget that. He's going to be back in the summer, and we're going to struggle to get rid of so many of these players. There are players here who I'm convinced who are just here to play for a paycheck. Who I'm convinced are just here just to play for Manchester United. Don't care about actually playing. They just want to be signed to a club. It is going to take years to get these players off the book. Because as much as you might want to sell Xerxes, you might want to sell Fernandes because I don't think he fits the system. I might want to sell Dalot and Mazraoui because I don't think they fit the system. I might want to sell Maguire because I don't think he fits the system. I might want to sell Casemiro because he's old and rubbish. I might want to sell Antony because I don't think he particularly is a very good footballer. I might want to sell Garnacho because I don't think he fits the system. The only players there that are at all marketable to make money from is Garnacho and Mainoo. I tell you why. They've got age and they're not on overly expensive wages. These are 2 young players who actually want to go out and play football. Okay? You really think Antony is that bothered about going out and playing football? He's been sat on the Manchester United bench after this season, right now, for 18 months, rotting away, doing nothing with his career. Absolutely nothing. But he's on a shitload of money every week, about 200 grand a week probably, if not more, for sitting on the bench doing nothing. No club is going to take on that sort of wage for that player, let alone that no club is going to be interested in him. Because all these players playing in a system that doesn't work is only making the players look crap. It doesn't matter that they're being asked to do something that they're not able to do. Ineos have brought in a coach here that is playing a totally different style of football to what the club is used to for the last half a decade. And I don't know if Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Barada, whoever else is in charge, actually watches Manchester United over the last half a decade to see how we play. And why they've decided to bring in Amorim to completely rock this boat. Because the boat is rocking. The boat isn't just rocking, it's swaying like a fucking buccaneer at a bloody theme park that's gone out of control, and it's almost tipping over. It's almost done a full rotation. It's malfunctioning. We are fucked beyond belief. We go into games now, to any competent team, I'm thinking, we're screwed. We can barely beat Southampton at home. Now, luck will have it, but we'll pick up enough points to not get relegated. You look at the table, you're looking at Ipswich, you're looking at Leicester, you're looking at Southampton. Southampton and Leicester are going down. The only team that might have a chance of staying up, possibly Ipswich Town, but we're 10 points ahead of them. So at that point, you're saying you're probably safe. And you might have a season where you finish 14th, 15th in the league. But then it comes to the summer, and it's what are Ineos going to do? Because we're 20 days into this transfer window. Rashford hasn't gone. You can't get rid of Rashford. That's the club's fault. Ineos weren't here when it happened, but it's the club's fault. They put him on a massive contract, made him a star player after having a fruitful 3 months in front of goal. As soon as April hit, he was back to his usual self, being a piss poor. But you know what? To fend off the interest, we're going to give him a massive contract, and we're going to make him the face of Manchester United. And what did Marcus Rashford do? He went, fuck you. I've got all my money now. I've got the money. I can't be arsed. I'm going to focus on going out, getting lashed, clubbing, living the life of a megastar, on loads of money. Thank you very much. Because there is nothing we can do. What are you going to do? You're going to ask him to leave? Oh, thanks, I'll leave, but I'll take how much you owe me. I'll take the £36 million that you owe me from my contract because I'm on 300 grand a week. We can't afford to pay him off. And we can't even offload him. We can't even get a club to pay 150 grand a week for him. For 6 months. And give him back in 6 months' time. A club doesn't even want to go and do that. I can guarantee you this time next year, Marcus Rashford will still be at this club. He'll be sat on the bench, doing nothing, probably just sat at home, cashing in his paycheck. Because we can't get out of it. You can't just tell a player to leave. A club's going to have to want him, otherwise you've got to pay him off. Do you think he's that... It makes me wonder, is he that desperate to leave? How hard is he pushing his agent, his brother, to get him a move? Or is he more than happy to sit on the sidelines for a couple of years, come back when he's 30, and go abroad somewhere, try and get his dream move to Barcelona when he's in fucking cloud cuckoo land, get his dream move to Barcelona and rejuvenate his career. I've cashed in from Manchester United, I've used them as a paycheck. And it's the same for so many other players. Ineos have got to support the manager, or in a year's time, he's got to walk. There is no... I want to see something in the summer. All right, granted, January isn't the best time to make business. I get that. But there are deals to be had. You're not telling me that there's not a single player out there in the world of football that we couldn't make a deal for, whether it be a loan to buy, whether it be a loan, whether it be a permanent purchase. You're telling me that there's not a player out there in the world that we could bring in that might just fit an Amorim system a little bit better than the players we've got at the moment. You're telling me we couldn't drive a hard sale and get a player off the books for the last 6 months of this season in order to bring a player in. Because if that can't happen, I'm shitting myself for the summer. I'm shitting it. Because it's not just players here who aren't good enough that need to be sold. It's players here that just can't stay fit that need to be sold. I'm looking for a permanent sale of Luke Shaw. I'm looking for a permanent sale of Mason Mount. They've been here way too long, especially Luke Shaw. Way too long. Season in, season out. Back for a month, injured for 3. Mason Mount, back for a month, injured for 5. Back for a few weeks, injured for another 3. It's a fucking joke. These players are milking our wages. And it's time for Ineos, really, if they are backing this manager, they have got to take these next few transfer windows, and I'm not just talking about this one, and in the summer, because reality says you're not going to be able to get rid of all these players in 1 year. But in 3 years, I'm expecting all these players to be gone. Apart from the very many few, the very few that might just fit an Amorim system. Maybe an Ahmad, maybe a Dillet. Maybe Bruno Fernandes might still be here. But the rest of them, they should all be moved on. They should all be moved on. I don't care that Mainu's come from the academy and he's part of the heritage and he's one of our own. But the last couple of games, how can he play so well against Liverpool and Arsenal, but then against Southampton and Brighton play so piss poor? And it just rings these early alarm bells of mentality. Mainu might be a gifted player, but is he mentally ready up there to play for Manchester United? Because this is not an easy Manchester United team to play in. This is not an easy team at the moment for a young player to come in, for senior players to nurture, to help them embed into the team. The team is an absolute mess. And if I saw the sale of Garnacho and Mainu, and we managed to get, maybe 60 for Mainu, 70 for Mainu, 45, 50 for Garnacho, I'd probably say great. Because we just don't need players for the future. We need players who are ready to play in this system, who know how to play in a 3-4-3, who are ready to come into this system and try and turn some things around. Because we are a long way away from competing for league titles. We need to get back into Europe as an objective for next season. Because we're not going to finish in the European spots. We are 11 points behind Bournemouth, who are in 7th spot. Which is the lowest spot in the league that we might get European football. Yes, we might get lucky and win the FA Cup or Europa League, but I can't see that happening. We'll probably go in the FA Cup, Leicester, and we'll lose. They'll probably beat some penalties or something ridiculous because neither team will be able to break either down and it'll be a boring, drawn-out game. But I'm rambling. We need to wrap this up. To summarise, Manchester United at the weekend were piss poor. Amorim's come out and said this is the worst Manchester United team he thinks in history. It's certainly the worst squad of 11 players playing football that I've seen, and I've been watching Manchester United for a decade now. This is the worst I've ever seen. It's big, big trouble ahead, but Amorim has to stay the course. If he wants anything to change with these owners, if anything is going to change with this football club, the manager needs to stick to his plan. He cannot go back and start playing defensive, low block, 6 at the back football. 4 at the back, 2 CDMs. He can't do that. He's got to stay with his 3 at the back. He's got to hold strong. He's got to ride out the results. We have to ride out the results as a fan base. And this is where time will tell. Is Jim Ratcliffe a positive for this club? Or is he actually just buying into the Glazeronomics, towing the line, blowing smoke up their arse, blowing smoke up our arse, building this, putting in these fancy ideas for a whole new stadium and a whole new Manchester, Salford and all these different plans? Is he just blowing smoke up his own arse to make himself look good? Does he just talk the talk? Well, guess what? It's time to walk the talk. Put your money where your mouth is. Start to make an impact, Ratcliffe. Get the Glazers on the phone. Tell them they need to get the wallet out. Tell them the players need to be sold. And maybe we'll start making some progress. That's it for now, guys. Drop us a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you here Friday for the reaction to Manchester United versus Rangers in the Europa League. Goodbye.